Always excited whenever we can join this man for a little baseball and beer conversation. He's Jay Jaffe from Fangraphs.com. You can follow at J_Jaffe on Twitter. I'll look forward to his beer recommendation a little bit later in the segment. Good to have you back. And I'll tell you what, it has been a wild first couple of weeks in baseball. Now, you tell me, the Dodgers are on an incredible pace. We're going to get to them in a second. But can you please explain for the life of me what's going on with the Yankees and why they're having such a tough time with their pitching depth? And also, obviously, the bats have not been what we're normally expecting from the Yanks.
Yeah, I mean, two things going on. First of all, they had they entered yesterday with the tied in a virtual tie for the lowest slugging percentage of any team in the majors. This is not a team that can't hit the ball hard. They're missing Luke Voigt, who was their top slugger last year, but Aaron Judge is healthy. Gary Sanchez has been swinging the bat pretty well. Giancarlo Stanton's been kind of a mess, but nothing that they normally couldn't overcome. But a lot of other guys in the lineup, like Clint Frazier and Gleyber Torres, have been disappointing, and they've nobody's been picking up the slack. I think they'll come around on that sooner or later. The bigger problem, the structural problem, is that behind Garrett Cole, you just don't know what you're going to get out of that rotation. They've got very little length so far. They're depending on Corey Kluber, Jamison Tyone, and Domingo Germán, three guys who combined to throw exactly one inning last year. They're waiting for Luis Severino, who missed all of last season with Tommy John surgery, to come back. There's a lot of uncertainty there. They really could have used another innings guy. They have Davy Garcia on the at the alternate site to come up and hopefully provide some good starts at some point, but he's going to be on a workload limit. They're just going to have to find some consistency because they're going to burn through that bullpen, which has done a really admirably solid job in the absence of Zach Britton. But they're going to have to get some length out of the guys besides Cole here, or they're going to find themselves chasing whoever is leading the AL East.
I thought Montgomery also was off to a pretty good start. Really, those two and everybody else after that was a mess. Now, I'll say this. I know you've got a short leash on some guys, but I mean, Domingo Germán had like 2 starts and then they just sent him right back to the alternate site. I was surprised they didn't at least give him an opportunity since he pitched well in the spring and obviously has a pretty healthy arm after not pitching at all last season.
Yeah, I think they've been kind of cycling through guys. Michael King has actually thrown more innings than Germán, both in relief outings, kind of an opener primary guy situations. One of them was in relief of Germán. Germán threw 3 innings, King threw 6. As soon as these guys get, throw those innings, they get optioned back to the alternate site so they can get a fresh arm. They're just going to kind of churn through them as a way of moderating workloads. I think, all these guys are going to have something to contribute. They don't expect anybody besides Cole to give them anything close to 200 innings. It's just going to be, shuffling the deck here and there to keep fresh arms and length is one problem. Consistency, though, is the bigger problem. These guys, they're just not keeping them in enough games.
No doubt about it. And the one team that's come out of the gate flying in the AL East that I didn't expect was the Boston Red Sox. I thought they were still in rebuild mode, and they've been off to a terrific start for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, they've left the gate 12-6. The Yankees are 6-10. The Red Sox have gotten strong offense and better than expected pitching. I saw them as about a 500 team. I think maybe we underestimated them just a little bit. The Blue Jays have kind of stumbled. The Rays have been so-so, except for when they played the Yankees. So this could actually be an interesting 4-team race here. Instead of, we had the Yankees in our projections as clearly the best team in the AL East, but right now they're anything but.
Jay Jaffe joining us here on Sports Talk as we continue. Who's been your favorite early surprise as far as teams go this season?
Oh boy. Favorite early surprise as far as teams. I'd have to think about that one for a second here. The Royals at 9-7 are certainly interesting. The Mariners are off to a good start. I think the Giants are off to a good start. They've actually outplayed the Padres here. Those are, all of them have some interesting stuff going on. None of those teams was expected to contend. Although the Royals, you could see them sort of creeping up on Cleveland, given the moves that the two teams made in the offseason. But the Giants, with their rebuilding, have hit on some interesting guys like Mike Yastrzemski and Donovan Solano and Kevin Gausman. They could be. I don't know if they're going to be an actual factor in that race, but they could be a lot of trouble for any team who crosses their paths.
I'm happy you mentioned the Mariners too, because that team has come out of the gates impressive, and they're throwing that 6-man rotation at you. And I'm kind of give me your thoughts on the 6-man. Do you think that it's more gimmick than anything else, or can a team like Seattle actually be able to keep that 6-man rotation through the year?
I think this year, when there's so many workloads that are going to have to be monitored, I think a 6-man rotation, experimenting with it is fine. The Mariners, you don't expect them to contend for anything. It's not like you're taking, 10 starts away from an ace. You're going to want to be careful with all your guys, Marco Gonzalez on down. And they may come up with some usable extra guys here. They're just trying to take a look at everybody, trying not to overburden anybody. Obviously, a bit of a bummer that they lost James Paxton just 1 and 1/3 innings into his first outing of the season, because he's undergoing Tommy John surgery. But I think they'll be interesting to see how what kind of work they get out of these guys. Gonzalez has actually struggled, and yet here they are above 500, just the same.
Jay Jaffe with us from Fangraphs.com as we continue our conversation. As far as the Dodgers go, they don't even have Cody Bellinger, and it doesn't matter. I mean, can you just kind of put into perspective how loaded this team is top to bottom, both offensively and pitching-wise?
Yeah, I mean, they've got such incredible depth, and they're just such an incredibly strong and balanced team. My colleague Dan Zimborski, the inventor of the ZiPS projection system that we use, he went around and tried to estimate. So if player X suffered a season-ending injury, how much would that affect the team's chances of making the playoffs? The number one guy, as you might expect, is Mike Trout, whose loss would take the Angels' playoff odds down by about 35%. That's because the Angels are a fringe team and they really need everything they can get out of it. Mookie Betts, who we had a scary moment with the other night when he was hit by a 95-mile-an-hour pitch from the Mariners closer Rafael Montero, it's only about a 2% hit, because the Dodgers are obviously already very, very likely to be a playoff team. They could get by without him. They've gotten by without Bellinger, who was injured after 4 games. Got a hairline fracture of the fibula. He'll be back probably early May. That's fortunately nothing serious with that hit by pitch, just a contusion. They were worried it could be a fracture, but they've got, when you've got a guy like Chris Taylor, who's one of your best hitters and who can play at any one of 5 positions, you can cover for a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different matchups. Bellinger, Max Muncy, now a new kid named Zach McKinstry, who's kind of replacing Kike Hernandez. They've got a bunch of guys they can move around and give players a day off, prevent minor owies from turning into major injuries, things like that. They've got seven starting pitchers, and they're kind of shuffling. One of them's on the injured list, Tony Gonsolin. David Price is pitching out of the bullpen. But boy, Walker Buehler has looked great. Julio Urias was fantastic. Clayton Kershaw, after a lousy first start, has really come into form. This is just a dangerous team top to bottom.
I'm happy you mentioned Zach McKinstry. I never heard of the guy. And now all of a sudden he's got 14 RBIs. He's batting .300. He plays different positions. And it seems like he just gets big hit after big hit as a rookie.
Yeah, he's a guy who, didn't hit for power in college, but they saw a guy that they thought they could make some adjustments with and have him hit for more power. He hasn't produced a ton on the power, but he's been, good, consistent at bats. He's helped out at both second base and right field with Betts out, and sometimes playing center field to cover for Bellinger's loss. And Gavin Lux, who's also on the injured list, played there too. So they saw enough in him to let Kike go, and Kike is beloved in that Dodgers clubhouse. So they were really making a bet on this kid that he would be able to help them.
If you are on Fangraphs.com, you can check out some of Jay Jaffe's recent stories. Injuries haven't derailed the Dodgers' hot start. We touched on them a little while ago. Loss of Strasburg is just one of Nationals' rotation problems. And the Yankees have been Bronx bummers so far. All of those are up at Fangraphs.com from our weekly baseball guest, Jay Jaffe. And you're working on another good piece, and I'm excited about this. Corbin Burnes has been one of the great stories of the early season. Last year, Jay, it was like he came into his own. This year, he's just taking it to a new level, and without a doubt, is just on an incredible start to begin the season. What is it? 40 strikeouts and no walks so far from Corbin
Yeah,
Burns.
and just one run allowed. That home run by Byron Buxton in the his first start of the season, which broke up a no hitter. He had 3 straight games with two or fewer base runners in 6 or more innings. 4 straight games with 9 strikeouts or more and no walks. That's never been done. The 40 strikeout to no walk ratio over 4 starts has never been done. Just some cool stuff. This is a guy who's kind of a stealth Cy Young candidate last year. Fell 1/3 of an inning short of qualifying for the ERA title, but was had, I think, the second best strikeout rate and fourth or fifth best ERA in the National League. Wasn't going to win it over Trevor Bauer given the season that Bauer had, but he did get sixth place votes. Probably could have gotten a little bit higher if he had just a little bit more, but he strained his oblique in his final start. But this guy he junked his 4-seam fastball, which was 2 straight, and has this just devastating sinker cutter combination that batters just cannot figure out what's coming because he tunnels them so well. And he's been missing bats like crazy. And when batters make contact, they can't do anything with it.
He's also the classic example of kind of like a late bloomer because everybody thought he had top of the rotation potential when he first debuted, but he got hit hard a little bit. Then they tried the bullpen to straighten him out. And then all of a sudden, something clicked. And you talked about it, ditching the 4-seamer. And then all of a sudden coming up with a pitch that becomes unhittable. And the next thing you know, Corbin Burns looks like he's the next Jake DeGrom.
Yeah, I mean he's out pitching Jacob DeGrom right now, and DeGrom's been just utterly phenomenal too. This is going to be a very interesting Cy Young race already to watch. But Burns, I mean, if you haven't seen this guy and you have MLB TV, pull up his next start because he is just must see TV for the way he's befuddling hitters. Big kind of beefy, long haired guy, just throwing 97, 98 and missing bats galore.
I know we touched on the Dodgers earlier, and they had a heck of a series with the Padres. San Diego is not off to the start that we expected from them, given the lineup and all the hype. But those 3 games were fantastic. And did you stay up until 3 a.m. To watch the end of that first game?
I had to cash out at about 2:20 because I'm assistant coaching for my daughter's t-ball team, and that one was on the Friday night. I had to get up early on the Saturday for it. So it's like, all right, this is a self-preservation move. I went to bed at like 2:15, at which point I figured I was maybe 1 or 2 batters away from missing the Padres walking off. They had just gotten in that little near brawl between Dennis Santana and was it Profar. I looked at the box score the next morning. Not only did the Dodgers win, but David Price hit a sacrifice fly. Joe Musgrove, who just thrown a no-hitter, was playing left field, and Jake Cronenworth was on the mound and got hit hard. It's a crazy game. The next night was a great pitcher's duel as well. Darvish and Kershaw, just such a fun series. The Padres prevented the sweep, but you're right, they have not quite lived up to expectations. 10-9 right now. Fernando Tatis Jr. missing time with that shoulder problem. Really hasn't hit all that well, kind of a slump right now. Manny Machado's had some back issues. I think they'll be fine. But it's tough. The Dodgers are right now, they're clearly the better team, and they've put some distance between themselves and the Padres. And so we'll see if the gap is closed this weekend.
We could be looking at an all-time team when it's all said and done from Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, we had their projection right now is up to 103 wins. And that's a projection system that tends to be inherently conservative. I mean, I was on the Kevin Goldstein's podcast last week, and he asked me what I thought, and I said I won't go higher than 108 wins. That's kind of the level we see. The Red Sox from a few years ago, the 86 Mets. Anything above 108 is just everything going right. He thought that I should be estimating higher. I mean, they have so much talent.
They no doubt do. All right, let's get a chance and wrap things up with our beer pick of the week, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you have for me. In fact, I'll be honest with you. I've had some good ones myself, Jay, and as I've tried to review some, Desert Fog from Marble Brewery is a New England style IPA. They're based out of Albuquerque. I had them over the weekend for the first time. I'd never had a Desert Fog, and Marble makes some unbelievable beers. It was so good. It was just one of those great New England IPAs, and it's available
Nice.
here because it's Albuquerque and it's so close to El Paso. So anything Marble does, I get excited about. This absolutely lived up to the hype. As we get ready to get your beer pick, you've actually going to show us the beer in addition to review it. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, this is another one from Threes Brewing. This is their regional dialect. It's a Kolsch, a German style, kind of like a Pilsner. Yeah, it's an ale. It's top fermented, but it's stored like a Pilsner. It is a light. I think it clocks in at about 4.8% alcohol. Crisp notes of honey and white grape. Really a nice light thirst quencher. I'm getting into their Pilsners and their Kolsch's. It's just a nice alternative. I love my IPAs, but man cannot exist on IPA alone. And this is a really nice alternative.
Have you told the guys at Threes yet that you would like to get into ownership and equity in the company?
They know how much I value them, and likewise, they've treated me very well. I'm actually gunning for what my pal at the Athletic, Eno Saris, got. There was a brewery in Chicago that worked with him on a beer. I want Threes or somebody else to pick up that challenge and invite me to do something like that. That's I've done a book. I want to do a beer.
That would be awesome. Hey, before I wrap it up with you, give me the thoughts on T-ball with Robin and what coaching is like for you, especially working with youngsters like that.
Oh man, it's fun. She's really into it. She doesn't know what she's doing, but she's having fun. These kids are so young. You got to tell them where to turn. Where to go from first base. I mean, they're running around like dogs. Every fielding play, everybody charges the ball. It's swarm ball is the term that a fellow parent used. I mean, it's like the third baseman will run over to first base, the left fielder will run over to shortstop. It's just, the end of a play looks like a Civil War battlefield with so many people on the ground.
Awesome.
But it's cute, and you can see some progress. My daughter's a little on the smaller side and on the younger side for this group, so we're looking for signs, but she's gotten a few solid whacks and she's very enthusiastic about it. Fielding is a challenge, but hitting and running are coming a little bit more easily for her. And as long as she's having fun, I'm happy to do it.
I love it. Lefty or righty? What do you have her batting?
She's righty. She's working righty. We hoped she'd be a lefty, but she seems more comfortable as a righty.
Well, enjoy that. That's a lot of fun. And I'm excited for watching those photos and videos of you when you get a chance to post it of Robin. They're a blast. In the meantime, great catching up as always. Look forward to doing it with you next week.
All right. Sounds great, Steve. Thanks.